What we are studying is the Kaivalya Upanishad, and every Upanishad starts with Shanti Mantras. I'll take a couple of minutes to explain the meaning of the mantra that we sing. I've sent the printed notes on that particular topic for everyone to reread it once again. Om Badram Karnebe Shunuyama Deva Badram Pashyemakshabir Yajatra Sirairangais Tushtumausas Tanuve Vyasheva Devahitam Yadayu. O sacred gods, may we hear auspicious words alone with our ears, but not gossip or unwanted conversation. May we have the great ability to listen to the teachings through both ears with full attention. It also means that we should speak only what is auspicious, because we are the first one to listen to what we speak. The idea is that we have Shraddha to listen to Atharvaveda, which is talking about the auspicious truth. Without such Shraddha, one would not listen to it so seriously and attentively. That is essential to fully understand and grasp the teaching. Bhadyam Pashemakshapir Yajatraha. O worshipful ones, may we see only auspicious sights with our eyes while engaged in prayers and yajnas. Grant us the insight to see auspiciousness in all and everything, so that our sense of otherness reduces in us gradually. Even if some inauspicious is seen, kindly grant us the capacity and strength still to appreciate some auspiciousness in that, and also transform it into something more auspicious to nurture and strengthen us. The ears and eyes have the longest range of perception that connect us to the world of objects, and hence they should be always focused on the virtues in everyone rather than their defects. Stirai rangais tushtamavsas tunuvi vyashema devahitam yadaya. O auspicious ones, please grant us with healthy body, capable limbs, enough wisdom, and adequate lifespan to praise your glory while seeing exactly the same in other people. May we with a steady mind, control body and sense organs, see and hear nothing but sacred and auspicious in others. This ability of seeing the good in people will keep us in peace within ourselves by practicing virtues such as compassion, understanding, love, sharing and caring, and friendliness, so as to find a life of total fulfillment in the service of the Almighty God. And second mantra, Shanti Mantra is Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha, Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha, Swastina Starsho Arishtanevi, Swastino Bruhaspati Dadat. Quickly translated, may Lord of Indra, whose glory is great, bless us. May all-knowing Pushan, or sun, bless us. May Taksha place a circle of protection for our well-being. May Bruhaspati, Guru of gods, bestow his blessings upon us. But looking at little deeply, Lord Indra is the king of all gods or deities. His strength is in the hands. That is the capacity to grasp the wisdom and strength to do good and righteous activities, especially in the service of others, for those especially in need, to bring them comfort, happiness, and joy. Pushan, may the Lord's Sun enlighten our intellect, make us strong. Sun is the key planet, key star that allows us to survive. It sustains all living entities by starting the initial cycle of melting the snows to create the functional rivers, which then reach the ocean, and the heat from the ocean creates the clouds. Clouds produce the rains and nurtures the Mother Earth. This allows the fields to grow and crops to come up so they can feed small and big, and vegetations grow as well. That's how the life cycle continues. So let sun continues the activity, let it continue to bestow upon us its love without any sense of doership, helping and teaching us in that process. And finally, may the Lord Vayu or Garuda, lords of swift movement, give us blessings and save us harm from any obstacles. These obstacles could include fluctuating negativities created by our own inner frailties, such as intense desire, anger, greed, delusion, arrogance, and jealousy. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And finally, may God, Lord Brihaspati, Guru of gods, bless us with peaceful minds, overflowing with intelligence and righteousness to lead us alive, helping others and seeking enlightenment. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti. May we find peace with three distinct entities, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik. We've been studying Kaivalya Upanishad. It's a very short Upanishad consisting of 24 mantras. It is located in the end portion of Atharva Veda. It is remarkably sweet, practical, and relatively easy to understand if an individual listens to the mantras with an open mind. The very first mantra details how Ashwalayan, a scholar in his own right, approaches Lord Parmeshti with immense humility and requests for the knowledge that is the noblest, gaining which the seeker can cross all sins and attain the highest state of completeness as a human being. Recognizing that the disciple is well prepared, being versed both with Antaranga and Bahiranga sadhana, grounded in basic foundational knowledge and a proper physical and mental discipline, accepts him as a disciple. As a matter of fact, an enlightened guru has a special delight when a ready, bright student arrives at his feet to seek more knowledge, just like Ramakrishna was waiting for Narendra to show up when he came to asking for more knowledge. And as soon as he accepts him, such enlightened teacher promptly instructs him that the means of such knowledge, in this case, is described Shraddha, utmost faith, Bhakti, absolute devotion, and Dhyana, deep contemplation. He further instructs Ashwalayan that self that ever reveals itself in the cave of the heart and cannot be gained by karma or rituals, praja or progeny, or dhana or wealth, which is material prosperity, but it can be gained rather by renunciation, leading to the knowledge of the self. Those who are pure in mind, who have well asserted knowledge of Vedanta, to the attitude of renunciation, attain this knowledge, regardless of their chosen lifestyle, samsari or sannyasi. The fourth mantra talks about the pure-minded seekers of the truth who, by total renunciation, regardless of their chosen lifestyles, have a well-asserted knowledge of Upanishads and thus are already enlightened. They all indeed, at the time of death, ultimate death, totally are freed and stay grounded in the abode, what we call Brahman. The fifth mantra provided the necessary instructions for the contemplation upon the self, whereas the sixth described the nature of the self that's free from all attributes. Seventh mantra recommended meditation upon the Lord with attributes for those of us who cannot meditate upon the attribute-less self. Then the preceptor, Lord Parmeshti or Brahmaji, stated that the same self manifests as various deities, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, etc. It is the very substratum of time of death. The one who realizes one's own self as the self of all attains the highest. And this Upanishad makes it very clear that it is this self-knowledge and that alone that is the means of liberation. That is, so far we have studied these verses in the last few sessions. Now, if you remember, a moment ago I mentioned Brahmadev, Brahmaji said, may you gain knowledge, may you gain that Brahma Vidya by Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, Yogat away. We have studied Shraddha and Bhakti, though some of my friends have requested me to discuss the topic of Shraddha once again at a greater length. I'll try to do my best to address that in today's session. The definition given in Vivek Chudamani by Shankaracharya, Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana iti Shraddha. The conviction that the words of Shastras and Guru are true means Shraddha. As we mentioned before, one must give benefit of doubt to the teacher. One must give a fair and due consideration to what the teacher is saying. At the end, one may not agree with what is said, but fair, due, and open-minded consideration to the teacher must be given. Many times, the main problem that comes up is the individual's ego with a bunch of conclusions which are already made. That ego wants to perpetuate itself. If the comments from the teacher fit the individual's preconceived notion, the teachings look absolutely accurate. But something is said that goes against the perception of one's ego, there is a tendency to resist or even reject it outright. One cannot learn as long as such tendency prevails. Students' identification with teacher and through the identification of teacher with the scriptures is very important, if not crucial, because only then can that student become truly objective to his own self. One must scrutinize the various notions and conclusions one has about oneself. I'm the subject matter of the scriptures, and what is obstructing the correct, accurate, or right perception of myself is none other than my own misconceptions and misperceptions about myself. I can recognize a misconception only when I become objective. Objective with reference to my perceptions about myself, and objective with reference to my conclusions about myself. And that can be accomplished only by creating a distance with your own perceptions and conclusions. The natural question comes up, how do you create a distance between my opinion, my perceptions, my conclusions? That can be done by identifying with the teacher and then scrutinizing or looking at my own conclusions about myself from the standpoint of the teacher and the scriptures. So again, as I mentioned, Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana iti Shraddha. Now that happens when there is a Shraddha, an implicit trust that what the teacher is saying is correct and that he or she is my well-wisher. There is no reason why the scripture and my teacher should wish ill for me or should misguide me. I recognize that my teacher has no personal agenda, has no agenda for his student other than commitment to make student to see the self or the Atman. Once the student is convinced of this basic fact, it is relatively easy for the student or disciple to surrender to the teacher with deep reverence, with long prostration, as Sri Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Tat viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. Understand that. Understand what is to be known by prostrating the wise, the teachers, by asking proper questions and by serving them. Those wise persons who have the vision of the truth will teach you this knowledge, Sri Krishna says in the 34th verse, 4th chapter. There is methodology in asking the teacher to clarify some of the questions or topics in a respectful manner, acknowledging the deficiencies in the disciple himself. You can refer to the first and second verses of Gita chapter 3, Jayasi Ityet Karmanaste. And finally, in the 4th chapter, Shri Krishna continues, Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriya jnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. One who has the faith in Shastra and the word of Guru, one who is committed to that knowledge and who is master of one's senses gains that knowledge. Having gained the knowledge, that individual immediately gains the peace. Shantim achirena adhigacchati. Now, it's very challenging topic, and I agree with some of the people who have raised that question. Let's look at it from a different point of view. Shraddha is a Sanskrit word. That's my favorite subject. A pregnant word with meaning. It means much more than simply faith. The word, I like to split everything to understand it. The word can be split at Shraddha. Shrad iti satyanama. Shrad means satya. Shrad means truth. And Shraddha means the inner disposition or attitude of earnestness which establishes the truth in the heart of the devotee. That is Shraddha. Shraddhaya satyam apnoti. One gains truth by Shraddha. The second statement is from Vedas. To know anything, mind and heart must be into it. When there is a earnestness, qualifications and opportunities come very easily. You see, if you have that attitude of concentration, earnest, really want to learn, those individuals get those opportunities very easily. Shraddha is the tenacity of purpose or the honesty in pursuit. It brings in the qualities of devotion and takes the seeker to the goal. So you have to be consistent, persistent, maintain that tenacity. I got to reach that goal. Failure is not an option. Devotion to the goal is not as important as the devotion to the means. Let me repeat. Devotion to the goal is not as important as devotion to the means. Generally, the individuals have a tendency to focus more on the goal than the means. Accomplish that by any means. As we take care of the means, the goal will take care of itself. Because in this case, self, Atman is the goal that need not be accomplished. But as you will understand it further, that goal has been already accomplished. So basically, we already have that self. Unfortunately, because of that cloud of misunderstanding, a curtain of ignorance, we do not know that we already accomplished. So our job is to accomplish which is already accomplished. Now, Bhakta is the one who takes himself to be a limited entity. That's each one of us. This bhakta is an individual identified, we as our physical body, and we call him seeker. Now, by the time that individual, the seeker, reaches the goal of self-knowledge, the seeker will disappear. It's a very paradoxical journey in the sense that the individual is aimed to be decimated by the knowledge, and yet everyone strives for it. Like a salmon spawn in Alaska will still try to go upstream and trying to regain the origin. The example that is given by Ramakrishna is very fascinating. Give the example of a salt doll who's trying to find the depth of the ocean, trying to find the depth of the ocean. And by the time that salt doll starts working on it, that doll does not survive to discover the depth. It automatically merges in the ocean. So this seeker does not remain as it is, becomes one with his goal. The reality of the outer world is bhakti, devotion. Outer world that we express ourselves through the prayers, singing, the bhajan, the kirtan is devotion. Striving to gain an insight about the inner world is dhyana, meditation. Shraddha is the capital required for this twofold starving. The meaning of reaching the goal is yoga, yuja. The individual is one with Ishvara, but as though separate due to one's ignorance. When the striver dispels the ignorance, he realizes his identity with Ishvara. This union, which is manifestation of the innate divinity, is yoga. It is the spiritual adventure, the journey from oneself to one's self. It's a spiritual adventure, moving from oneself to one's self, Atman. In the great Mahavakya, Prasanna knows well, everybody knows well, Tat Tvamasi, that thou art. Asi is the identity. The identity can be established only when Tat and Tvam are appreciated. Tat, that is Brahman, the substratum or the reality of the universe, the creation. This appreciation is the epitome of having mastery over the mind and to know that machinations and ways of functioning of the ego. Arduous meditation leads to the insight about the meaning of I. These two disciplines lead the striver to the communion with the reality. Mind by nature is attracted to the things of the world. Like the water always flowing downwards. In reality, this world of names and forms is transient at best and often designated as unreal by Vedantic scholars. The substratum of the solid foundation on which this transient world exists is Ishvara, the existence absolute. People call it temporary, transient, destructible, Maya, whatever it is. As far as I'm concerned, as long as it does not have a permanent existence, it is still transient and destructible. Only thing that remains exactly the same is the existence absolute, that is Brahman. Now, our mind, unfortunately, has a deep-rooted tendency to take these world of names and forms as real, permanent, quotation mark, but needs to be properly educated, or if you want, like on the Father's Day, needs to be properly disciplined. Water, which has a tendency to move downwards, can go up only when it is energized and directed. Similarly, our mind has to be energized with knowledge, discrimination, dispassion, and that is prasanna, true devotion. The world is tangible, looks real, fulfilling and often attractive, whereas Ishvara is initially only an idea. The seeker, the devotee, who has gained this knowledge, is able to recognize the underlying reality alone being real. Once who has the knowledge, he can see what I'm saying. But a true devotee who has gained that knowledge, everything is Ishvara. Whether a flower, a fruit, a bird, an animal, ocean, or a mountain, everything is divine. That enlightened individual recognizes the underlying reality, even though he still appreciates the beauty of everything which appears different, but he still sees the common thread of divinity that goes through each one of them. Matre, all like a thread that goes through Matre, going through the mala. All the mautikas are there, but what he sees is the golden chain underneath through which all of them go. A human mind has a great relish for worldly things. After listening to the teacher, maybe that makes sense. So why can't we have both the worldly things as well as Ishvara? Worldly things and Ishvara, but have both. One can practice such devotion to gain only the Ishvara by directing our sense organs towards that Ishvara, by seeing the forms of Ishvara and listening to the glory of Ishvara. That's why how lucky we are when we enjoy the Indian music, Indian dances, because all that beautiful music that we hear, beautiful dances that we observe, all of them are grounded in divinity. So you can certainly enjoy that, but never forget the true meaning through which our wise, enlightened individuals who created that music and dance. But enjoying the fragrance of the flower is natural. Pratyaksha, I can smell it. But picking that fragrant flower from the plant and offering to the Ishvara with devotion without smelling it first, that demands a control on emotions and requires intense sense of devotion. Shri Krishna says, Mat karma krut, mat paramo, mat bhakta, sangavarjita, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, yasa mameti pandava. 11th chapter, 54th, 5th verse. My devotee is the one who performs actions for me. Mat karma krut. My devotee has ultimate goal is me. Mat paramo. Mad bhakta sangvarjita. My devotee is free from attachment and passion, and who harbors no ill will towards any living being. O Arjuna, such an individual attains me. Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu. That devotee, yaha saha mam eva eti pandava. The true devotee follows two key principles. He works, does all different kinds of works to make sure that a society continues to function, but is done in the spirit of worship to the Lord and with total commitment to the realization of the Lord. I remember students and residents around me asking me, Dr. Sane, when do you go and pray? I laughed at them. I said, what do you mean go and pray? I'm praying right now because I'm taking care of the patients. So when you take the work as the service of serving the God, that is the way the work should be done in order to realize the God. And having maintained these two positive qualities, worship and commitment, reject two negative qualities of excessive attachment and ill will or aversion. So you got to get rid of those negative things. Don't have ill aversion, ill feeling or aversion to anybody else. You like somebody, attachment is fine, but excessive attachment is inappropriate. A true devotee sees all forms of life as the manifestations of Ishvara and does not categorize them as good, evil, friend, foes. There is no good or bad in the world. There's only Ishvara, there's only divinity. It is a knowledge of divinity and reality that saves the human being from the bondage of worldliness. The realization of one's divinity is yoga. Now, dhyana, meditation, provides a ready transport from the unreal or transient world of names and forms to the reality right within ourselves. We know the world of sensations, but unfortunately have no mastery over the inner world of thoughts and feelings because we do not pay any attention to it. The primary purpose of meditation is to become aware of our inner world of thoughts and feelings. It is the thought that breeds sufferings, anxiety, and fear. Remember, it's the thought that breeds sufferings, anxiety, and fear. Therefore, instead of looking for the causes of sufferings in the outer world, we should look within ourselves and become aware of our thought patterns. Our mind is a glorious instrument of cognition, but unfortunately, we allow it to rule our lives despite its tendency of inadvertence, tendency to make mistakes. In meditation, dhyana, we come to know our mind and its way of functioning. And gradually, as we'll practice, we can acquire mastery over our mind and release it from the grip of painful thought patterns. As we continue to meditate over and over again, we gain the mastery over the mind, are able to release the grip of painful thought patterns. Of course, not deviating from the ultimate purpose. The ultimate purpose of meditation is to realize the self as Brahman. In the context of Vedanta, meditation is called nididhyasana. In the context of Vedanta, meditation is called nididhyasana. Contemplation on the self, contemplation on self-awareness. In this kind of meditation, one comes to know of the workings of the ego and its relationship with the world of objects, situations, and people. Eventually, we come to know that is absolutely a false entity. So gradually, as we start meditating on a regular basis, the ego gradually washes away. Meditation helps us appreciate and assimilate the teachings of Shastra. God is the unity of man and nature, and we must realize that unity. The self who's isolated from the world and God is the source of endless misery. Basically, Kaivalya, world, individual, and God. If you separate any one of them, you have a problem. Recognition togetherness is the perfect way. In meditation, the striver penetrates the superficial layers of consciousness and merges into the being. Being is the source of life, expressing through the organs of action, and consciousness consisting of ego, intellect, emotions, and the fivefold sensations. The locus of meditation is the mind. All the teachings is for the mind alone. It is the product of three gunas. Navjani is listening to this again. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Ambitions, desires, and enjoyment are for Rajas. Mind is unaware of the fact that there is an inbuilt limitation to the extent one can derive pleasure by deploying our sense organs. It is always greedy for more, making us slaves of sensory pleasures. Such a mind is opaque to the reality and tries to cover it up. Tamas is not only physical inertia, but also intellectual laziness. Meditation helps us to overcome ill effects of rajas and tamas, and thereby purifying our mind. The mind that is grounded in sattva is calm and quiet, and yet not sleepy, but fully alert. Mind grounded in sattva is calm, quiet, and yet fully alert. Such a mind is transparent to reality, unlike the one which is opaque mind, involved with rajas tendencies going totally out of bounds. Meditation is the only way to gain command over the mind and make it composed and serene. In life, we are misled to believe that false is real. It takes courage to see false as false. Meditation is an exercise of seeing that false as false. To conclude, meditation helps us to overcome the identification with the physical body. That I am kshetrajna, the knower of the field, and not simply the kshetra. Let me repeat this. Meditation helps us to overcome the identification with the physical body and know that I am kshetrajna, the knower of the field, and not simply the physical body, the kshetra. Simply the body and mind is the kshetra. This vision has to be carefully cultivated by constant and frequent meditations. While we are engaged in the worldly affairs, one cannot gain that discrimination. However, by immersing oneself in meditation on a regular basis and penetrating those superficial layers of consciousness on frequent basis, each one of us can come to learn that we are much more than simply this body and mind, and indeed we are Brahman. I'll stop right here.
Thank you. I think the explanation of how Shraddha and Bhakti go hand in hand towards Gnana was very illuminating, because I had some doubts. Remember, I talked to you earlier about
That's the reason I'm discussing today.
Yeah, I think you answered it very correctly. That you must have faith in what the scripture says.
Yeah.
You must have faith in what the Guru says, because both the Guru and the scriptures are not out to get you. They're out to enlighten you.
Exactly.
So if you go with the attitude that I'm going to challenge the scriptures and the Guru, then you don't have Shraddha, you don't have Bhakti, you don't have Jnana. So that part of the discussion was quite illuminating and humbling to me. That you must. Very often when we go to somebody, we always question sometimes their credentials, their identity, their qualifications. And here what you are saying is you have Shraddha in what the teacher is telling you. And you have Shraddha in what the scriptures is telling you. And if you don't go with that attitude, then you're not going to gain any knowledge. Very good. Thank you. It cleared up a lot of doubts in my mind.
And remember when the first time you didn't know how to swim,
Yeah,
your father or mother was saying, "Don't worry, jump. I'm here." You're scared, but you had that shraddha that they'll protect me.
yeah,
And nothing but love for you.
yeah,
You jumped and you learn how to swim. The same thing applies understanding this through shraddha.
yeah.
I'm glad.
Very good.
Thank you.
I have a small question.
And Naina, go ahead.
Dr. Sane. Okay. You know, I wanted to know about, it's easy to say to ourselves that, and we tell people all the time, that our soul is divine, our Atman is divine. We just keep saying that. But really, to find that divinity, you have to have the meditation, dhyanam part. Otherwise, you're strictly dealing with the surface, superficial level. So, I think I need to be inspired to do more meditation and less just mindful thinking that, yes, I am divine, brainwash myself into saying that. So, thank you.
Thinking is different than knowing.
Yeah.
Listening to this, you can think, yeah, that's what Dr. Sane said. But by experiencing through the process of continuous, frequent, and deep meditations, you don't have to think about it. It becomes your second nature. So that becomes an integral part. So it doesn't matter even if you are fast asleep, automatically comes because you don't have to think what I remember hearing it. You know it. So that's the reason why the Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga away. So Dhyana is just important. Without that, we tend to go with the ego to show off how much you know. Unless you connect yourself with yourself, then it becomes integral, part of your personality. Now, it's already there, but you know it not.
Darshan, Dr. Sane, and namaskar to everyone. Quickly, how is there such a thing as a adhyatmic ahankar? And if there is, then how do you grab it right away before it kind of overtakes you? That's basically my question. Thank
The
you.
thing is, Sambit, if you have an understanding, ahankar would not exist. You see what I mean? So once you have a true knowledge, unity automatically follows. So vidya vinaya sampanne. So when you have a knowledge, you don't feel like flaunting. If you are trying to cover up and tell how much you know to impress others, it's your ego which is trying to do. So you don't have to know gain that attitude. If you really know it, you will never show it.
Yeah.
Does that make you understand?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So the key is to understand it, feel it, make it second nature. So the thing is, it shows on your face, but there's never a face of confidence is different than the face of arrogance. Okay, I don't know if I'm making it clear or not, but
Yes, totally. Yep,
okay.
got it. Thank you.